Welcome back to the Ultimate Trumpet Podcast. This episode is based on the article 3D Printed Mouthpieces, The Future of Custom Trumpet Design over at trumpetstudio.com by Michael Drosty. Today, we're talking about something that honestly feels like science fiction to a lot of trumpet players, but it's already happening right now. 3D printed trumpet mouthpieces are changing the entire way mouthpieces are designed, tested, and customized.
And the crazy part is how fast this technology is moving. What used to take weeks or months can now happen overnight. A designer can literally change the cup depth slightly, adjust the throat size, reshape the backbore taper, print a new prototype overnight, and hand it to the player the next morning.
That completely changes the traditional mouthpiece development process. Trumpet players already know tiny changes make huge differences. A slightly deeper cup can darken the sound but reduce endurance. A tighter backbore can increase efficiency but create resistance issues. Even microscopic changes around the throat entrance can affect articulation, flexibility, and slotting.
And for years, players basically had to guess. You'd order a mouthpiece based on recommendations, catalog descriptions, or whatever your favorite player happened to use, then wait weeks for it to arrive. Half the time, it didn't solve the problem you were trying to fix anyway.
Exactly. And every trumpet player is different. Lip structure, teeth alignment, airflow habits, tongue position, aperture size, facial structure, compression, all of those things affect how a mouthpiece responds. Two players can pick up the exact same setup and have completely opposite reactions to it.
One player says it's effortless. Another player says it feels like blowing through a brick wall.
And both players are correct. That's why personalization matters so much. This is where modern 3D printing becomes incredibly important. High-resolution resin printing now allows designers to experiment with geometry changes that would have been too expensive or time-consuming 10 years ago. Designers can now test extremely small adjustments, throat size changes, cup transitions, rim contour changes, venturi tapers, entrance radius adjustments, backbore flare rates.
And these aren't giant changes either. Sometimes we're talking fractions of a millimeter.
Exactly. Tiny changes. But trumpet players already know tiny changes matter. The really exciting development is the rise of biocompatible dental-grade resins. Early 3D printed mouthpieces honestly felt rough and experimental. They had visible layer lines, inconsistent surfaces, and materials people weren't always comfortable putting on their lips for hours.
Which is understandable.
Absolutely, but modern medical and dental resins are a completely different category. Many of these materials were originally designed for oral applications like dental aligners and surgical guides. That means manufacturers now have access to materials specifically engineered for skin and oral contact applications.
That's a massive leap forward for serious prototyping.
It really is. And honestly, the biggest revolution may not even be the final printed mouthpiece itself. The real breakthrough is rapid prototyping. Imagine a player says, "My upper register locks up after 2 sets." A designer can now slightly open the throat, smooth the backbore transition, reduce resistance slightly, print a new version overnight, and immediately test the difference the next day.
That kind of experimentation simply wasn't practical before.
No, because traditional CNC machining is fantastic for final production, but it's slower and more expensive during the experimentation phase. Every brass prototype traditionally involved programming, tooling, polishing, plating, material cost, shipping, setup time. That naturally limited experimentation.
So companies created broader categories instead of hyper-specific customization.
Right. Players basically chose between categories: shallow, medium, deep, tight, open, lead, orchestral, symphonic. But human players are much more complicated than those categories. 3D printing allows designers to work between those traditional labels and fine-tune extremely specific geometry combinations.
I think the backbore discussion is especially interesting because most trumpet players focus on cup depth first.
And experienced players know the backbore is often where the real personality of the mouthpiece lives. The backbore affects resistance, efficiency, projection, overtone response, flexibility, articulation feel, slotting. Tiny changes in the taper can dramatically change how the instrument responds.
And traditionally, that was difficult to experiment with.
Very difficult. Internal machining changes are expensive and time-consuming. Now a designer can print 5 different backbore profiles over a weekend and compare them side by side with the same player, same trumpet, same room, same microphone setup. That speed completely changes the development environment.
And I think trumpet players are moving toward a much more individualized future. Instead of asking, "What mouthpiece should I buy?" players may eventually ask, "What geometry actually matches my playing style?"
I completely agree, and we're already starting to see early forms of that approach. Once mouthpiece design becomes fully digital, entirely new possibilities open up. Future systems may eventually analyze airflow patterns, endurance tendencies, intonation response, spectral balance, compression habits, resonance characteristics. Then AI-assisted systems could generate optimized custom geometries specifically for the individual player.
That sounds futuristic, but honestly, we're already moving in that direction.
We really are. And trumpet acoustics are sensitive enough that these tiny geometry changes genuinely matter. Players can immediately feel the difference between mouthpieces that appear almost identical visually. One feels tighter, one slots better, one spreads, one backs up, one responds faster, one feels more efficient.
But there are still limitations, too.
Absolutely. Resin is not identical to brass. Material still matters. Some players notice differences in overtone structure and resonance behavior. Durability can vary depending on materials and curing methods. Surface smoothness inside the throat and backbore remains critically important because microscopic texture changes can affect airflow characteristics.
So this isn't magic.
No, but it is a major leap forward. And even if the final production mouthpiece ends up being brass, bronze, titanium, or stainless steel, the printed version may become the fastest and smartest way to discover the ideal geometry first.
Which honestly makes a lot of sense.
It really does. Rapid experimentation first, precision machining later. That workflow may eventually become standard throughout the brass industry. And honestly, I think this technology is going to eliminate a lot of old myths over time because designers can finally test ideas quickly and objectively instead of relying entirely on tradition and guesswork.
And younger trumpet players probably won't even think this is unusual. To them, custom digital mouthpiece design may eventually feel completely normal.
Meanwhile, older trumpet players are still trying to decode mysterious mouthpiece letters and numbers from catalogs printed in 1983.
Extra tight reverse modified number 7 backbore.
Exactly. Nobody even knows what half those labels mean anymore. But one thing is becoming very clear. The future of trumpet mouthpiece development is going to be far more personalized, data-driven, and acoustically optimized than anything we've seen before.
And honestly, we're probably only seeing the beginning of it right now.
Thanks for joining us for episode 13 of the Ultimate Trumpet Podcast. This episode was based on the article 3D Printed Mouthpieces, The Future of Custom Trumpet Design over at trumpetstudio.com by Michael Drosty. If you need the latest practice material, be sure to check out The Ultimate Warm-Up for Trumpet and The Ultimate Technical Study for Trumpet. If you're getting ready for the gigging season, don't forget your copy of The Ultimate Wedding Book for Trumpet.
And please rate and like us on the App Store.
Now go practice.